What's up guys, Thomas from FT86 SpeedFactory, and today we're going to talk about our new short throw shifter, and we're going to be installing it on our BRZ. Now the last time we had a video dedicated to short shifter, it was the Irp Short Shifter, and that thing is crazy, reducing throws by 60%, and you get a nice tall, crisp bolt action rifle shifter. But if you don't want something that screams race car, maybe you want something that's not in your face, then this is probably the shifter for you. Now this shifter reduces throws by 28.5% and actually drops the height of the shifter down by 3/8 of an inch. Now with this in your car, it's gonna look pretty OEM until you shift it and feel the difference. But the thing that sets this apart is this whole section here, the reverse lockout, is made out of delrin, and that's gonna reduce the amount of rattle you're gonna hear when you're driving, something that the Cartboy didn't do very well. Now inside the box, you're gonna get your shifter already assembled. They're also going to include some super lube, and you're gonna use this lube for this ball and socket bushing here on the shifter. And if we compare this to the stock shifter, you're gonna notice that you can see the difference in height where this ball and socket bushing is. It's a lot lower down on the stock one, it's a lot higher on the short shifter, and that extra angle there and that leverage is gonna give you that 28.5% reduction. Something else to notice, and a big key for our short shifter, is here we have ball bearings. Let me get this open. There are some ball bearings inside our short shifter, and here you have, well, this is a pretty beat up example, but this is the standard bushing in the stock shifter, and that's obviously getting beat up over time. And here we have a much smoother ball bearing that's gonna last longer and give you smoother shifts. Now to get to the shifter, we're gonna have to remove this entire center console here. So we'll start by removing the shift knob, the shifter trim with the boot, and the Ebrake boot. Now we're getting to the shifter trim. You'll wanna pull up from the sides. If you pull up from here, you're gonna break some stuff. Plus there's some electrical connections we need to remove. So just pull up on the sides here. There we go. And then this connection here, we can disconnect. Well, that's really on there. There we go. And then this just slides right off this reverse lockout here. We can set that aside. And to remove the Ebrake boot, all you do is lift up on the sides and that'll pop out. Then you slide this part through the Ebrake handle. Now for the next step, we need to remove the side panels here, and those just pop right out once you give them a little pressure. There we go. We'll do the same for the driver's side as well. And what you want to do is stick your hand in here, and you're going to want to remove and push out the auxiliary and USB port. You can slide your hand in there and it'll pop right out. Just a little bit of pressure, then we can pull it out and disconnect this connection and throw this aside. Now we're gonna remove this tray in here, and you can stick your hands in here just like before and give it a little bit of pressure and it'll pop out. There we go. And now we have access to all 6 bolts. These are Phillips head screws, where there's 2 up here, 2 next to the shifter, and actually 2 underneath the storage cubby here. Now with all 6 of those screws undone, we can go ahead and pull this out of the car. However, there is one more connection for the cigarette lighter down here that we need to pull out. There we go, and we can pull this out of the car. Now we got more access to the shifter, and we got to take out these 2 white clips here that are holding on this foam pad. Take out this foam bit. Toss that aside, and now we have 4 12mm bolts we need to remove. Now that we have access to the shifter itself, there are 4 bolts holding this on. Normally there's going to be 4 10mm bolts here, but since this is the old Cart Boy, it has different hardware. These are Allen's, but the same premise applies. So let's go ahead and get these undone. Now, if you can see this part here, there is a clip and a spacer that's holding on the rod that connects the shifter to the transmission. And we're gonna need to pull this off, and then we're gonna disconnect this shifting rod to our shifter. Make sure you do not drop this. Okay, we got the little clip, and we'll take the little washer off. Okay, you got the washer. And we'll slide. There we go. They are now disconnected, and this can pop off. There we go. Booyah. Now, before we throw in this new shifter, we do need to apply this lubricant to this bushing here. So we just tear this open and spread that around that ball and socket area. And we'll also need to transfer the rubber dust cover from the old shifter and put it onto our new shifter. Now, before we throw this shifter in, it's a good idea to put some lube on the bearings and these bearing spacer caps. And I like to install the first 2 on the shifter rod already to make it a little bit easier. And when we've got those on, we could drop this, make sure it's in the right position. You want the shifter kind of angled towards you. Otherwise, if it's this way, you're gonna be smacking into that radio and air control every time you shift. So make sure the bend is kind of pointed towards you. And we will drop this in place. There we go. And then you're gonna have to fish this rod into the bottom of the shifter. And these are pretty high tolerance pieces, especially these bearing spacers. So take your time. You may have to work it a little bit. Just have some patience. And then when you've got that on, make sure you put this clip on, and then you can bolt down those 4 bolts, the 4 10mm bolts, and put the rest of the interior back together exactly the opposite way that you took it apart. Now, as you guys just saw, our new short shifter has very short and notchy throws. You can even tell an audible difference between the two. And I think most of that is due to those high tolerance bearings that don't allow any play in the shifter. Now, if you want to pick one of these up for yourself, I got them linked down in the description, or you can head directly to our website by clicking right here. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to send us an email at sales@ft86speedfactory.com. This is Thomas, and I'll see you guys in the next video.